You know, Ted, most GIS characters just suck.
That is true, but, how do we make one that's not going to suck?
I know. You take Sneak Attack and you add it to Shadowblade.
Rogue Sorcerer. Let's do it.
Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, and today we're going to do an Adventures League legal character build.
Do you want practical advice you can drop right in your D&D game?
The answer is yes, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell. All right, so we're going to dive in. We're going to make a Rogue Sorcerer character build. We got this idea from a fan, and how is this going to play out?
Yeah, you're correct. One of the patrons had requested specifically a Shadow Sorcerer rogue combination. They didn't tell us where to go with the rogue part. That was kind of left up to us as well as everything else. The other thing we have to work with is Shadow Sorcerer. So we were kicking around some different ideas, when we were looking at the different kind of rogue. So you could go, now Arcane Trickster has a lot of crossover and would fit really well. The only downside is now you need Dex, Intelligence, and Charisma. But we're looking at like the list of subclasses for Rogue. That really got me thinking. And when I got to Swashbuckler, I was like, Shadow Sorcerer, Swashbuckler. I always mispronounce the Three Musketeer.
Instead of saying D'Artagnan, he likes to say Darktagnan.
So we are making Darktagnan.
So it's kind of cool. So we have that Shadow Swashbuckler, a lot of fun to wind up playing with here. But we're gonna need a race to build this Darktagnan with.
Yeah, now, I guess the thing is, because we've already gone into Xanathar's Guide to Everything, that's our +1. That leaves us with the races in the Player's Handbook, because we were looking at some things like a Tabaxi would be a lot of fun. One of the Tiefling variants would be a lot of fun. But because we're stuck with the Player's Handbook, obviously Half-Elf just jumps out because they do have really great stat adjustments. Humans are always good. Lightfoot Halflings is also another great because you get the Dex and the Charisma. But I feel like we did a Halfling Swashbuckler recently.
Absolutely. But there is another race that we really haven't touched on with character builds. That is Dex and Charisma. And that's going to be the Drow, the Dark Elf.
All right, so we're doubling down on the Dark for our Darktagnan character. I'm digging it. And also, I feel like the Drow are pretty thematic when it comes to Shadow Sorcerers anyway.
And, with that racial bonus to Charisma, he's going to have the panache.
Both figuratively and literally when he gains enough levels. We have our classes that we know we're going to use. We have our race. What are we going to do for background?
We like to build things thematically and mechanically. And we put forth an idea. And I know as soon as I say this, Dave is going to start rolling his eyes because it's an inferior choice, but Haunted One.
Haunted One is a really cool concept for backgrounds. And the backgrounds, by the way, mind you, they kind of... they're kind of set aside from that PHP +1, so we can legally go to another book for a background. You find them in The Curse of Strahd. Nerdator Doug had suggested this one. I usually hate Doug's ideas, but this time I really liked it. The Haunted One, it thematically really fits. And what Ted is speaking to is I hate when the mechanics have been set up a certain way and there's a precedent, and I hate when that precedent gets broken. It sets off my OCD.
So typically in your backgrounds, you get 2 skills and then 2 others. And there's a combination of languages and tools. Could be 2 tools, could be 2 languages, 1 of each. But for whatever reason, the Haunted One, you get 2 skills, you get a language, no tools. It needs a tweak, it needs to get fixed. Get on that.
I don't know. I guess because it's an uncommon language that you're getting, and you get a little extra gear. But extra gear never works out because after a couple levels, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't pan. But the idea we had was this character, this Drow, wound up being killed by some kind of shadow creature, and instead of him dying and staying dead, he came back to life, and the shadow now lives within inside. So from the Haunted One, he actually doesn't produce a shadow of his own, and, at some point, his shadow powers will begin to manifest, and, he'll be a sorcerer.
Yeah, perhaps the thing that killed him or near killed him stole his shadow, and like that could be one of the things he's looking to do is get it back.
What is he, Peter Pan?
Maybe.
All right, so we've got a background, we've got a race. We've talked about what classes we're going to use, but where does this guy go at first level, or gal?
They don't go anywhere without some ability scores.
Oh, that's true.
Because you have a dex or strength of 0, you have no movement. 0 con, you're dead.
That's true. That's true. All right, so what are we looking at for stats then?
All right, so we dump strength and drop an 8 in there. We put our 14 in dex. Con, we're going to go with a 12. Intelligence, we're going to go with a 13. Wisdom, we're going to go with a 10. And for charisma, that's where we're putting our high stat of 15.
All right, so that winds up giving us a 16 dex and a 16 charisma to start off with once we apply our racial bonuses. So we're already mechanically geared towards the classes that we like.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of munchkin up first level a little bit and go rogue because that's going to maximize our skills.
So we're going to get that expertise. We're going to get more skills because, you get 4 for being a rogue. You only get 2 for being a sorcerer. And you're only going to get 1 when you double up or when you take rogue as a second level. So
right.
Got to nix that.
Right. So we're going to get the extra skills, but we're also going to get the higher hit die, which is going to add to our survivability as well.
Ching. So I mentioned that expertise. What skills are we looking at there?
Before we get into which skills we actually took expertise in, Ted, I think it's only fair that we mention that if you go to the description below, you're going to be able to find a link to this character sheet so you can actually follow along, but also the character build guide. Both of those will, make the stuff that we're talking about in the video make a lot more sense. So you can grab those, download those, take a look. While we're talking about this stuff, it's only fair to mention that is a D&D Beyond character sheet because they are the sponsor for this video. They make building characters so much easier. You can find great content over on their website for free, both in video format as well as written articles as well. And then, of course, there is the D&D Beyond program that you can use, the software, which you can use for free for all the SRD stuff. But if you want to level up your game and spend a little bit of money, you can use all the features. We're huge fans of D&D Beyond. We use it for all of our games now. We highly recommend it.
I use it to look up spells. Use it to look up monsters. I use it to create stuff. It is just awesome. You get those hover cards that automatically show you all of those cool abilities, conditions, spells, so you don't need to double down and link back and open up secondary tabs. It's all in one place. Highly recommend D&D Beyond to anyone who hasn't tried it yet.
As we were saying, the expertise is we went with deception and stealth. We can even flavor that stealth a little bit, that this guy is kind of wrapped in shadows and naturally stealthy in a unnatural sort of way.
I felt, making this that since we're, heavy on dex and charisma, it'd be wise to take something to, put a nod to both of those.
Right. And so, and not only that, first level rogue, we're going to get sneak attack, the bread and butter of being a rogue, obviously. Now, for our next level, though, we're going to move away from rogue.
So we're going to go over to sorcerer and begin to unlock those magical powers that have been brewing inside.
But not only do we go over the sorcerer, we stay there and hang out for a little while, because one of the things we really want from sorcerer, we can't even get to it until 3rd level. And that is the spell Shadowblade.
So, as we mentioned in our intro, Shadowblade, really awesome spell. And this is where this character is going to lean heavily on, on that. So going through those low levels, you're going to wind up getting some spells. You're going to get some, some cool meta magic feats. For this one, we went with Quickened and Empower. Since Shadowblade is technically a spell, we kind of toyed around with and said, well, what happens if you empower your Shadowblade? Does that mean you get to reroll your 1s and 2s on those dice?
I think so, and I think, at least for the first attack anyway, it's a bonus action to cast the spell. But not only that, since we're using a concentration spell and we're fighting with a weapon and we're getting your sneak attack damage with that weapon as well, we can also use our Quicken to cast spells as a bonus action when we're attacking. Now, the rogue never really suffers for something to do with that bonus action, but now we're going to also give them something really cool to do with that bonus action.
So more options, which this character is kind of being built towards options.
Moving through the levels to 4th level sorcerer. Now we're a 1st level rogue. We're going to get our first ASI, and we're going to take a stat adjustment.
So 5th level, we're going to wind up taking our 4th level in sorcerer. This is going to give us a little bit more in the way of spell power, but it's also going to give us our first ability score increase.
With that, instead of taking a stat adjustment, we're going to take a feat. And we're actually going to go back in the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. We're using the book, why not? And we're going to take Elven Accuracy. So it's going to give us another reroll, always great, another chance of getting a 20 when we're sneaking. And it's also going to give us a +1 to either Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. Basically anything but Strength or Con. You can take a +1. We have an odd stat someplace, so we might as well even it out.
So we wound up having a 13 in Intelligence, and while this character is not, designed to be supremely intelligent, we feel that the skills Arcana and Investigation, that we're going to be, looking with, this character is trying to do magical research to figure out what happened to his shadow, how can he get it back? So he needs that bump on the brain to help him out. So we're going to bump that up and now have 14 Intelligence.
All right, so from there, I think we're jumping back to Rogue. We're going to grab some levels over there because we definitely want to get our archetype.
So we're actually going to, take 3 levels of Rogue. We're going to grab our Cunning Action. We're going to grab that Swashbuckler subclass. And then we're going to grab, 4th level to grab a ability score increase.
So we're going to get that ability score increase, and we're going to take it to Dex. And now that's going to give us an 18 Dexterity. We're going to have a 16 Charisma. As a Swashbuckler, we get to add our Charisma to our Initiative. So we're going to have a +7. Not bad.
Not bad at all. So we're actually going to continue on with Rogue. We're going to get Uncanny Dodge. We're going to take one more, getting us up to 6 levels of Rogue to get another dose of expertise. What are we going to take?
I believe we're going Arcana and Persuasion. We want to be really good at Arcana. This character's doing a lot of research. They kind of got boned by a supernatural creature, and you want to figure out what's going on. So they've really focused on it. Or you could even say, because of their brush with the supernatural, maybe they have unnatural insights into that kind of stuff now.
So in our lower levels, we're trying to hide what's going on. So we took that expertise in deception and lying to people. Well, now that we've gained some renown, we've done some great things. We're 10th level at this point in time. We've got the ability to be like, you know what? I'm going to be nice to people. I'm going to be persuasive. So let's double down on the, I'm good at lying and I'm good at telling the truth. Why not?
Our character is really shaping up to be a silver-tongued devil. All right, so we're going to jump back into Sorcerer now because we want to get our 3rd level spells and we also want to get the access to that Hound of Ill Omen.
So we go 2 more levels of Sorcerer to get into this. Most of the spells that we're taking, and you can see all of those on the character build guide or on the character sheet. We're not looking to be an offensive sorcerer, but we're really trying to augment our roguely powers. And as I said earlier, this character is designed to be fighting with their Shadowblade.
That Hound of Ill Omen shores up that one weakness that the Swashbuckler rogue has when it comes to sneak attacking. The only time they cannot sneak attack is with a ranged attack that doesn't have an ally next to that enemy. Well, now they have that Hound that they can summon to go sit next to their enemies, so they can now sneak attack anytime they want.
So we take their 2 levels of Sorcerer. Now we're going to take 2 more levels of Rogue. So this winds up giving us Evasion and yet another stat increase.
So we're going to add that to Dex for another +2, maxing out our Dex at a 20. That's going to give us a +5 and a +3 to Initiative, giving us a whopping 8. Pretty impressive.
So going with Dex, it's going to be our armor class. It's going to be our to hit. It's going to be our to damage. It's going to be on, some of our foremost skills, when we're dealing with, stealth and any, manipulations, if you're caring about, removing traps and unlocking things. So highly, looked at, to get that Dex up first.
And we jump back to Sorcerer for 2 more levels again. We're all over the place here. We're going to get 4th level spells awesome. We can also use that to pump up our Shadowblade and do even more damage. And we're also going to get another stat adjustment as it's our 8th level in Sorcerer.
So going here is going to allow us to, bump up our charisma to 18. This is going to give us a further bonus to our initiative rolls. Always good for that rogue to be going first, getting that advantage, getting those sneak attacks in faster. But it's going to increase our DC on any of those shadow spells that we might happen to be casting. It's going to increase those charisma-based skills that we love so very much.
So with that, we're going to then finish off this character build. It's going to be all rogue. We're going to get our final 2 ability stat adjustments. Our last one coming in at 20th level. We're going to get our panache ability, and we're going to also get something else to
Reliable talent.
Reliable talent. That's right. Which means we can no longer roll under an 11 for any skill we're trained in.
So with this, we're going to take that first stat bump and we're going to put that to charisma. Now we've really maximized our dex and our charisma. This drow has got it going on, but if that's not enough with that plus 10 to initiative, at 20th level, this character is going to take alert for a 15 bonus to that initiative rolls.
And they can't be surprised. So, all in all, it's a great build, I think. I think it's a fun one for players to play. And, even though it jumps around a lot, I think it's going to stay on par with any other character in your party. The question is now, Ted, how do we use this guy or gal as a villain or from the DM's side of the screen?
Well, the interesting thing about this character is since it's so charismatic, you could use this as a reoccurring villain who has the ability to get away with things like Dimension Door, Blink, and have fun with it. It could be an interesting character that they meet early on, and as it's doing its research, it winds up finding out that it thinks that the party is in league with whatever dark forces have his shadow, so it could constantly be trying to muck with the players. And since it's just one of him versus an entire party, he tends to keep running away to be a thorn in their side later. You could have a lot of fun with it. You add some cool powers to be just like, okay, he disappears into the shadows as this guy is wont to do.
I also like the idea of this character of being kind of sensual and being a tempter or a temptress type character that is kind of always mucking with the party. Always maybe hitting on different characters, trying to create turmoil and conflict that way, really relying heavily on those social skills, not just the magical abilities, which are quite useful, and the rogue abilities as well, but also being, heavily, almost like social warfare or, on the party, not, so they could be like a foil where they pop up time and time again, where they don't have to be a big bad that you're just going to fight. Or they could be, they could be a minion of the big bad that is sent to mess with the players. And maybe they have a lot of interactions throughout the campaign until they finally get to their big bad. And this happens to be their right-hand man or woman, as the case may be.
I see this NPC would be a lot of fun to play in a game. And as the GM, when or if the party wound up bringing them down, I would be sad to see this kind of character die.
In my head canon, this character is totally the arm candy for the big bad. In addition to being very effective and, pretty much a shadow assassin as well.
But with the, expertise in persuasion and deception, you could basically, as you said, it's a silver-tongued devil. You could make them believe whatever it is that you were saying and be like, oh, yep, that's absolutely true. I love this guy.
Well, and the panache ability kind of is basically that anyway. So it's really baked into this character. And like you said, the other idea of maybe the players have an object that this character's shadow is attached to. Maybe it's a magic item that has used the shadow of this character to infuse it, and that's kind of what makes it magic. It's a key ingredient. And the only way for this person to get their shadow back would be to destroy that magic item, or maybe have it on their person even. So they're very highly vested in trying to get that from the players. From that standpoint, they might be an enemy that isn't really interested in killing the players, but will do whatever it takes to get back that object.
Absolutely. So there is another character build all done up. Awesome NPC that you can drop right in your game.
Go down to the description where you can look at the character sheet as well as the character build guide. You can download that on your way down there. Head to the comments. While you're commenting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
So you can always help out our channel by helping out our sponsors.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.